Hi there, I'm Nicole Wilbur. I'm a writer and story nerd, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing a craft book review of Story Engineering by Larry Brooks. So I usually do 3 pros and 3 cons for a craft book review, but I'm going to do this one slightly different, and I'm going to review it and tell you what I liked and didn't like, while at the same time kind of telling you a bit about what I learned in this book. So we're trying a different format. To be completely honest with you, I skimmed through a hefty portion of this book. I am an engineer, not a story engineer, but like a computer engineer, and also a very impatient person. And so I like to be given concrete tips and things to do, and then I like to go do them. And this book took a very long time to get to those concrete tips. And so I was just like, meh, 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 meh. I would say story engineering is about 40% persuasive fluff, 20% shots fired at pantsers, plotters versus pantsers. So he likes the plotters, not so much the pantsers. 20% very, very beginner information, like what is a concept, what is a scene, and then 20% actually helpful information. Mind you, the information that I learned from it was good. If you read this book, I have a drinking game for you. Take a sip every time Larry Brooks says you need to outline, because it happens all over the time, all the time. The other pitfall I found with this book is the examples or lack thereof. So it was super obvious to me because the last craft book I read was Save the Cat Writes a Novel, and there are a ton of examples in there, and I loved those examples. I found them very accessible. She referenced classics, lots of popular novels like The Help, Confessions of a Shopaholic, Harry Potter. I felt like she did a good job of pulling in a broad variety of examples to talk about, whereas the author of Story Engineering is very clearly like a guy. Nothing against him at all. You can really tell his story sensibility though is like very masculine, just in like the cliche way of like a lot of mid-2000s like crime thriller mystery stories. Obviously this book was published in the mid-2000s. Again, totally fine. I have nothing against that. It makes complete sense that an author's examples would fit their reading taste. However, the examples just weren't very accessible to me. Luckily for his major plot example, like when he was explaining plot structure, he used the Da Vinci Code, which was the only example in the book that I actually had read, so that was very helpful, but it's something to keep in mind. Like, I feel like if you hadn't read the Da Vinci Code, then that whole section of the book would be less helpful to you. So the examples were also pretty far and few between, especially compared to Save the Cat. I'm someone who loves examples like a lot. If you've seen my writing advice videos, which are more like let's learn together videos, you would know that. But if you aren't that crazy about examples, then well, this is the book for you. Yeah, so those were the bad things, but let's talk about what I learned. So the single biggest takeaway was that 3-dimensional character development concept. So he spends a while on character and he talks about this 3-dimensional concept. I adored it. I thought it was amazing because it was like, that's how I think of my characters. I just didn't have the vocabulary to articulate it. So the basic idea is that each of the 3 dimensions of character is doing a different thing. So in the first dimension, it's how the character exists in the world, how they present themselves to the world, their outward appearance, how they speak, mannerisms, the ways they consciously choose to act and respond. So readers attach meaning to this, but that's where the fun part comes in, because you can kind of subvert their expectations. In the second dimension, which is the why, it's like the character's backstory, their motivation, their reasoning, the reason they're doing what they're doing, the character's history, past experiences, that kind of thing. And then you have the third dimension, which is where things got a little bit less concrete for me, but it's basically who the character is at their core, like what they do when it counts. And a lot of this third dimension character action is where you see the character development and the change take place. So for example, if you have a third dimension character action in the first act where they say your character's big flaw is that they're selfish, I don't know, the only thing I can think of is they screw someone over to get a job in the first act, and that's like a third dimension character action. They are selfish. Then you have another third dimension character action at the end that shows them being selfless, like giving up something to help somebody else, and you show the character change through that. So it's very cool. I actually made a whole video inspired by this concept. It's called The Best Character in Sex Education, a case study in character development. I'll put that on the card up here. It was a really fun video. Even if you haven't watched the show, I think it would be interesting to dive into because it's a really cool concept. Okay, the next thing I found helpful was the plot structure presented, although the organization of the section kind of confused me a little. I think I'm gonna have to go back and reread it. I felt like they could have found things a little bit easier to find. They had a section on structure and then a section on plot, but the thing is, the plot section referenced a lot of stuff in the structure section. I didn't find anywhere where they like broke things down in like a sheet of a list, or even a table with like their structure and then their examples from the Da Vinci Code. They just kind of did it in prose, which is fine. Although if you want, I think there is a quick reference sheet, but I find it helpful to have a quick reference with examples, and Save the Cat Writes a Novel again did that very well. But the structure this book advocates is 4 acts with a first plot point, midpoint, second plot point, as well as pinch points. I enjoyed how he focused on how antagonism is showing up at each point and how he related character development to plot. It's a very solid structure. I like it a lot. It gave me ideas and helped me think through my own story, which is always what you're looking for. It's a solid one for beginners to follow. I prefer it to kind of the confusing names in Save the Cat, like Fun and Games. It actually gives you a little bit more to work with, I felt like, especially through those second and third acts, than Save the Cat does. So I found like it gave you a little bit more to work with and a little more ideas on like how you should be structuring things going forward. So that was a big, good thing. And finally, his points on scene construction were a really good reminder. He talks about starting in the action versus building up to the action and how you need a balance of both, how every scene needs to have a mission, and how there should only be one piece of exposition, so piece of new information per scene. And while this is advice I have heard before, it was really nice to have this reinforced. I hadn't heard the one piece of exposition explicitly phrased as that, so I thought that was really interesting. I'm going to be doing a video, I think, testing this whole one mission thing out, one piece of exposition thing out. I'm really excited to do that. So I thought that was a really great reminder. It was presented well. So yes. And there you have it. That's everything that I took away from story engineering. So is it a bad book? No. Was it for me? Not really. I found it hard to be engaged in this one as well. So do I recommend it? If you're a beginner and you've read the Da Vinci Code, then yes, I think it could be helpful. A lot of people have benefited from it. I have had people in my comments recommend it to me, which is why I really want to like these books, but I didn't really like it that much. In terms of what it does better than Save the Cat, it services characters much better than Save the Cat. And it's a bit more comprehensive. It talks not just about structure, which is basically what Save the Cat is, although they have a little bit on characters and premise and stuff, but it also talks about scene construction and writing voice. I will say I literally got nothing from the writing voice section beyond like, don't try too hard to be flowery, but you might get more from it. It's just, I felt like there was not as much substance as I would have wanted and not as many concrete tips as I would have wanted in this book. When they said engineering, I thought, okay, this is going to be concrete. This is going to be to the point. This is going to be tip, structure, example. Now you go do it. I thought there'd be exercises. I thought it would be a little more like engineering, you know what I mean? But I found it was actually a little bit fluffier. So, hey, some people will love that 100%. The prose voice didn't bother me so much as the content, so it was better than Save the Cat in that respect. And again, the structure was really helpful. I think they provided some really good points on Act 2 and Act 3. Could that have come across in a blog post? Maybe, and I might do a little look around to see if I can actually find blog posts for these things, because that might be all you kind of need from it. But if you are just getting started with your writing and you're looking for a good introduction, this is a good one. Oh, also the other thing I didn't mention, he talks so much about pantsers, and although he does say at a few points, you can write a novel however you want, blah, 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 like it's very clear he does not, he looks down on pantsers and does not think you should be pantsing your novel. So if you are a pantser and you don't feel like having someone tell you that you're doing it wrong for 300 pages, maybe don't get the book. So anyways, if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. Let me know what you thought of story engineering. Did you like it? Did you take things away from it? What are your favorite craft books? Do you have any more recommendations or reviews that you would like to see? Thank you so much for watching, and upcoming next, I think my next video is going to be another Let's Explore This Writing Concept video. I'm trying to do those fairly regularly because I know that that's content that I've gotten really good feedback on. Thank you so much for that. So at some point I might be going back to 2 videos a week. We will see, but if I do, it will kind of be writing advice, writing exploration content on Thursdays, and then the occasional like fun video bonus content on Sundays. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.